It's so amazing to see how audiences are open these days to language or to shows and movies that are not in English.
Hollywood doesn't usually invest in sweeping historical shows, a history telling the story of Japanese occupation. Between 1910 and 1945, Koreans were denied their language, their culture. They were even forced to take on Japanese names.
구독과 좋아요 눌러주세요.
Film and TV projects by or about South Koreans have suddenly been in the spotlight, including a powerful new series on Apple TV that's already been renewed for a second season. Pachinko is both an epic saga of Korean history and an intimate look at one family's experience through the generations. Michelle Miller has the story.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The lighthearted mood of Pachinko's opening credits gives little away to the dark past of the series' plotline.
People are gonna be really touched. People are gonna be really touched, and it's gonna move a lot of people's emotions.
It did that for Minha Kim, the virtually unknown actor who won the lead role.
You didn't have a lot of experience in the industry before getting this part.
This is the most significant role that I had in my life.
She plays Sunja, the matriarch of a poor Korean family. Her star turn in Apple TV's Pachinko is giving Americans a history lesson.
A chance for a lot of people around the world to get to know the culture of Korea, to get to know our history.
A history telling the story of Japanese occupation. Between 1910 and 1945, Koreans were denied their language, their culture. They were even forced to take on Japanese names. Many died in protest, and hundreds of thousands of others were shipped into hard labor or prostitution. Pachinko's Sunja grows up during that colonial rule.
In the middle of this, so much horrible things are happening around them, they were trying to keep the things stable with their love. I think that's the most powerful message that we have.
While period dramas like Bridgerton have become big hits,
For all of you.
Hollywood doesn't usually invest in sweeping historical shows that aren't spoken in English.
이 안은 내 압니다. 내 기라예.
이런 멍청한.
But Pachinko is enjoying both critical and popular success.
진짜 니가 착한 거지.
Not unlike Oscar winners Parasite and Minari.
Please stand. What a beautiful family. Glad you're here.
And one of the most watched series on Netflix, Squid Game.
The wedding scene. What happened when you read that scene?
In Korea, the rice and the food is kind of like another language for us. It's like meal is really, really important, especially for the white rice and that wedding scene. It means a lot, it means everything. That's why Sonja cried so hard at that night of the wedding day, because it's so, like my grandmother told me, it was so hard to get the white rice at that time.
And her grandmother's stories of that time in Korea painted a fuller picture.
Because it was a colonial era, so the government took all the rice from the people in Korea. It was unbelievable. It was like, how did you suffer? And she said, it was just natural. Everybody did it, so it was not only me doing that.
Despite being told in Korean, Japanese, and very little English, Pachinko has found its American audience.
There's so many more stories and topics to tell the audience in Korea, not only in Korea, but around the Asian culture. So I think it's a great step to move forward for people around the world to get to know each other.
It's So amazing to see how audiences are open these days to language or to shows and movies that are not in English, because that opens the landscape of what you can tell in such a big way.
Family is universal, and story and family dramas and tragedies and everything else. I mean, everybody, no matter where you live, everybody goes through.
It doesn't matter the language.
Yeah.
It's storytelling, and it's the heart at the center of it.
It transcends cultures.
Yeah.